Hey, everybody. I am Ronnie Sanders, and I am the CEO and Managing Director of Power Music Radio. And I have a lot of roles in the radio station. We're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days of the year. We play. Our main interest is R&B music, but we do that and much more. And so one of my passions is about the artists and the businesses and organizations in the community. And so I am very passionate about what's happening in our community. And I'm always, always excited when I get to share information with you. And so now on screen, you'll see Mr. Alvin Carter Jr. and Velanda Samuels, and they're going to join me in this conversation. And we're going to be talking to the amazing, I read your bio, amazing Alvin Carter Jr. So Alvin, first of all, how are you today? And thank you for joining me in this conversation.
I'm doing well, and thank you for having me. I don't know about amazing, but thank you for having me.
They'll see. They'll see once this conversation is finished. They'll be able to tell. And Velanda, how are you today?
I am fantastic, wonderful, and great. Thank you.
Now, Velanda has a lot of accolades to her name. And one of the best ones is that she is part of Power Music Radio. And Velanda has her own show on Power Music, but she also has her own business that is very important. So Velanda, take a quick second and tell us who you are.
So I am Velanda Samuel. I'm a psychotherapist for the private practice, and I am also the host of the Breakthrough to Wellness show on Power Music Radio. And also I do some community work for Power Music Radio as well. So just excited to be here.
Excited having you too. So Alvin, I was looking at your bio, right? And as I said, amazing. But what I want to know is that if you had 30 seconds to introduce yourself to someone, what would you say? How would you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Alvin Benjamin Carter Jr., husband, father, grandfather, preacher of the gospel, musician, and whatever else you may need at the time.
Now, see, I said amazing. So let's talk. Today. We're talking about music, and so on your music career, how did you get started? I mean, were you in? Was this from youth, or is it family legacy, or how did you get involved in music, and what do you do in the music field?
So my father is a percussionist. My mother was a dancer. My wife is a singer. Her father was a guitar player. Her mother was a piano player. I've been in music pretty much all my life. Became professional at around 19 years old as a drummer.
Okay.
I started out playing congas, learning from my father, Abu Alvin Carter Sr., around 6 or 7 years old. Became serious about the drum set at 10 years old, 1972, at the Artist Collective here in Hartford. I wasn't living in Hartford yet. I was still living in the Bronx.
Really?
Bronx, and was coming here in the summers.
Okay.
Spending my summers in the Artist Collective summer program, and moved up here in 1976. Was in the high school band, but I was also dancing and acting. I thought I was going to be Sammy Davis Jr. or Ben Vereen.
Oh, really?
And centered in on the drums, Afro-Caribbean percussion, Afro-Latin percussion, whatever you want to call it, West African percussion, djembe ensemble, but primarily playing drum set in the jazz, R&B, and gospel idioms.
Okay.
And so just turned 60 years old this year.
Congratulations.
I look back and I've been playing the drums for 50 years.
Wow.
And pretty much everything cool in my life has stemmed from my association with the drums, and from associations formed primarily by my father and the people he hung around with, the kind of people that were able to sow into me. As even though I'm involved in a lot of things, nothing I do is something that I do by myself. I have a very deep bench.
Nice.
And
People
that's
older than me,
important.
people younger than me, have some great mentors.
Mhm.
So it's been really, these probably last 20 years have been really, really fruitful in terms of the kinds of things I've been able to be involved with. Really my whole adult life, just been blessed with, the people that I've been able to be around, certain performances, and at the center of it all, basically two things, and that's God through my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I couldn't do any of what I do outside the house without my beautiful wife Sharice holding it down at home.
So now when you realized, like you just said, 50 years of playing the drums, what kind of situation were you in that was it like a aha moment, or, have you been counting the years going along, or was this like, wow, I've been in this for 50 years?
I was thinking about how it is, because while you're involved in it, to me, it was just, okay, I'm doing this. All right, I'm doing that. Oh, here's the next gig. Oh, I have to be here. I have to go do that. And every so often, look back, you go, wow, that was a pretty cool thing I was allowed to be involved in. And so when I look back at the summer of 1972, seeing a jazz concert in Hartford, Connecticut, and at that point, that was when I decided I want to play the drums. I don't remember being me and not liking the drums, even from a little kid. But when I decided I wanted to play, and when I started bugging my father for a drum set, because we already had congas, it was just from that point on, playing, learning, being around people, one thing leads to another. And I look back and I realize some of the things I've been able to be involved in are actually cool. And the blessing is people still call, people still ask me to be involved. I just recently was at a celebration at Velanda's house and was able to bring my band to perform right in her backyard. And
That's awesome.
the kinds of things that mean more to me than necessarily being in a big stadium or a big theater. Don't get me wrong, I want a Grammy like everybody else.
Right.
Okay. But being involved in my local community on an ongoing basis, and being that person that people will call when they're looking for something, that's the real blessing for me.
Wow. And thank you for sharing that. And I have to say, it was a great pleasure to have you here. And people are still talking about the live band that we had. They're still talking about it. And so one thing that I do want to point out is what a full circle that you've had, because you went from seeing people on the stage, and I saw you at the Bush, this past summer. Well, we're still in summer, not recently. And so what a full circle that has come to you. What's your thoughts on that?
That's a very true statement. I went from seeing people do what I wanted to do to doing it. And again, one thing, I've been a drummer in church. I've been a drummer in synagogues. I've been a drummer with African cultural organizations. I've been a drummer playing in a band for Gladys Knight at the Oakdale. And I've been the drummer playing at the little hole in the wall on Albany Avenue on a Wednesday night jam session, and everything in between. I've been, around the world, and I've been around. And the blessing is that I'm just here to do it. And I am on a kick now. When I was younger, the OGs kind of smacked me around, showed me what to do, and pointed me in which direction to go. Whenever there was something I wanted to learn how to do, I literally always had somebody I knew directly that I either asked or I didn't have to ask. They just said, "Hey man, come here. You should be doing this." And so that led to being involved in a lot of community performances. I just finished the 36th annual Sigourney Square Family Festival. Been doing it
Wow.
for 36 years. I've been the stage manager for the Greater Hartford Festival of Jazz for the last, I don't know, 22, 23 years. I've done the Litchfield Jazz Festival. I've done the Wesleyan Folk Festival, done the Legend Show in Baltimore. But again, all those things just stem from being associated with the drums and having people around me that things I'm trying to do. I just recently joined the board of the Artist Collective, like just within the last few months. And that's really cool for me because that's where I got my start. So I literally have a 50-year association. Often, I have children that have gone to the Artist Collective. My father was at the Artist Collective. My wife and I met at the Artist Collective when she was 8 and I was 10. Now,
That's
many years
awesome.
passed. I wasn't even living up here yet. But you look back and here we are, 2 Artist Collective babies. And so if I had to choose an organization that I've been involved with, either directly or indirectly, because a lot of the people that I associate with musically have come through the Artist Collective, whether they're dancers, actors, visual artists. If you find a female in Hartford between 65 and 45 who has not danced with Cheryl Smith or Akko Thompson, their sister or their aunt or their mother danced with Cheryl Smith and Akko Thompson.
Or at least know their name.
So exactly. And we all have our story. And then we have a ton of people who may not even be in the arts. But if you ask them about something in their childhood that meant a lot to them in their development, one of the things they'll mention is the summer that they spent at the Artist Collective, or some classes they took, or somebody they looked up to that was from the Artist Collective. So I really want to shine a light on that particular organization.
And mention where it's at, Alvin, please.
Artist Collective is located on Albany Avenue at the corner of Woodland Street.
Mm-hmm.
And right in the heart of the North End. I remember when they were at a small place at 788 Windsor Street. Everybody remembers Clark Street. Very few people know about the location prior to Clark Street. Then they were at 35 Clark Street for a long time. And it moved into the location on Albany Avenue a while back. And they've had their ups and downs. Things are on the upswing. And we're trying to let everyone know it's still here and it's not going anywhere but forward. So if you're out there, you cannot find lessons, instruction, whatever you want to call it, for the buck in this area than at the Artist Collective.
That's awesome. So I'm sure people are going to want more information about it. And so we'll put something on the comments so that if they want to, connect with them.
860-527-3205.
860-527-3205.
3205. They've
See, I
had the
picked that
same
up that
phone
quick.
number forever.
So now tell me, you mentioned so many things, like I said, amazing career. So now, was your career structured? Like, did you have a list of all the things that you wanted to accomplish? Or was this something that, it kind of stumbled upon it, the opportunity came? Or were you prepared for the opportunities? Like they say, sometimes the opportunity may not be there, but to be prepared for it, get ready for it, so that when it comes in your way, you can just step into it. So what direction were you in as your career was developing?
I wouldn't say that I had a plan. I knew that there were things I wanted to know how to do. When I wanted to dance, I danced and I had good teachers. And when I wanted to act, I acted and I had good teachers. I not only went to art school, I spent a couple of years at University of Connecticut, and I was a music major and a theater minor. I didn't graduate, but I had some very wonderful teachers. I had Gene Sabatine as the dance teacher, Dr. Richard Bailey as the acting coach. I also danced with Catherine Fellows, who's the head of the dance department at Central Connecticut State University now. But basically it was, I wanted to be involved, I wanted to do it. And so I went about trying to learn various things. In high school, I was at the Hartford Stage Company for one summer. Even though I was a drummer and trying to learn how to sing, I was actually in the dance chorus in that particular production. I was an student in high school, went to Japan for a summer and played music in the high school band, Ibaraki High School in Mito, Japan. And those kinds of things early on kind of let you know what you want to do.
Mhm.
And I have two people in particular to thank for loving what I do and helping me to follow those endeavors. And that one is Alvin Carter Sr. And the other one, Marie Austin Smith, the pianist and music educator in this area, who just is an encyclopedia of the history of jazz and music in general in the greater Hartford area.
Mhm.
With many of the jazz luminaries. He just turned 90 years old this year. And he's someone that was really important in my development. Early on, I had the pleasure of being around people like Dolly and Jackie McLean. Jackie and Dolly, of course, began the Artist Collective and spent time at Jackie's house while he was on the piano, him showing me things. And you don't realize who you're around until you're not around them anymore.
Sure.
Here I am sitting at the piano with a jazz giant. I'm 18, 19 years old. And I look back and I know people that I've associated with that would give their right arm to spend 5 minutes with him. And I had the pleasure of being around him on an ongoing basis. And not just Jackie, but many other people like him.
Mhm.
And again, that's the blessing, is to be able to be around folks who are doing what you'd like to do, and their openness and their encouragement. And so that's what I try when I find people in the arts or whatever they may be involved in. If you painters paint, you know what I mean? Actors act, rappers rap. Go ahead and do it. And I'm probably opposite of what I tell everybody they should do, getting involved in the arts. Get a teacher. I've had teachers, but I was probably always their worst student, okay? Spend time practicing whatever it is you're doing. I have to make time, a few minutes here and there, but I play often enough, so, that kind of compensates. But the advice I give is from what I've learned by doing things the right way and doing things the wrong way. So I may not always be able to tell you what will work, but there are a lot of things I can tell you that definitely won't work. And so you need to go ahead and do what you ought to do so that you can become good at what it is you're trying to do.
So you mentioned that you're now one of the OGs, which is, I think critically important in our society. And so, you hear a lot about young people now, they don't want to hear anything. They know it all. People try and give them advice and they don't want to hear it. So how do you, and knowing that maybe you were kind of like that when you were younger, how do you
Actually,
work with that now?
I learned early on, pay attention to the people older than you. As a kid living in the Bronx, my mother and the man she was with at the time, Danny Taylor, they were involved in modeling. They owned a boutique. They had friends in bands. So here I am, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. The only time I'm really around kids is in school. But at home, I'm around adults and their kids, but we're hanging around the adults. So, I'm hearing Black Power and yeah, man, cool, man. But I'm around the music, I'm around the arts, I'm a fly on the wall, but I realized later on, all that stuff is still in there. But what I had the benefit of was finding out early on, pay attention to the people older than you. And then we're from a generation where you respected your elders, whether you wanted to or not.
Sure.
Now, to go a step further, it's one thing to respect your elders and to mitigate your behavior when you're around them. You might have cursed when you were around your friends, but you didn't curse when you walked in front of Miss Sally's house.
That's right.
Okay. And Miss Jones might see you walking down the street, tell you to come here, take this 50 cents and go get me a newspaper. But beyond that, it's realizing that when they actually offer up some information, take it. Don't use it, but take it. And I said, I just turned 60 this year. I still think I'm 35. And when I'm around the younger musicians, I think I'm their age, but they're looking at me like, oh no, that's the OG. And it was my father of all people, because I always have to tell him, no, Dad, they're paying attention to you because you've been around, you've been at it. They see the way that you operate in the community. And so you can't understand why they view you with the respect that they do. But I can, because I watch them do it. As a matter of fact, all my friends call my father Daddy because that's what I call him. And just recently, I've known since she was about 12 years old, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, she started calling me Baba. And Baba is a term of endearment reserved for older males. It means daddy, it means the Lord, but it's what you call an older gentleman that you respect. And I have had Baba David Coleman in my life as a percussionist, and a few other people that I refer to as Baba Abdullah Sila, passed on a while back. But this young lady in conversation, yeah, Baba, and she threw it out, and I was like, whoa, Baba, okay. I didn't think anything of it. I have a staff that I like to carry on, call it my Moses staff, and I lost it. And a friend of mine found it. So when he brought it to me, I said, hey, Curtis, thank you for bringing me my staff. He said, no problem, Baba. I went, he said, no, I'm not Baba, Abu. That's Baba. He goes, no, that is Baba. But you now, you are Baba. Wow. So later that day, I called my father. I said, hey, Daddy, Curtis called me Baba, man. He said, Alvin, I hate to break it to you, but you are a young elder. So I have to embrace the fact that I'm an elder in the community. Not that I need to be venerated or anything like that, but just the fact that because I've been around and doing what I'm doing so long, and people younger than me look at me and see me as someplace they'd like to be. And so I've just had to come to grips with the fact that yeah, I'm a young OG. I'm still trying to learn how to be a positive influence, how to be an encouragement, trying to be someone that people can look at and see how a man of God behaves, how a grandfather behaves. Those are the things that are really important. Cool stuff I get to do outside the house, but anybody will tell you, I love my 5 children. I love my 800,000 grandchildren. I love my great granddaughter. I love my wife. I love my brothers and sisters in the Lord. That's the stuff that's really important to me. It's just none of those people ever get to see me because I'm always so busy running around doing stuff.
Right.
But they know when they see you
That's awesome.
that there's going to be some value once they're walking away from you, right?
I have a good life. Yes, I'm busy. I work. I have a day job. I have probably 2 or 3 other part-time jobs. I have a couple of part-time businesses. Any skill that I have that can be rented out gets rented out.
Okay.
The blessing is able to get out and do these things. That's the blessing. I'm able to cut my own grass and help somebody build a deck. Velanda and I know each other because her husband and I are both contractors that have done projects together.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I helped to put the addition on their house. And I hadn't seen the finished work until just a few weeks ago when I did the performance at her house.
Absolutely. And you did a fantastic job in that area as well.
Thank you. But the thing that I value the most, one, is my relationship with Christ Jesus. Next is my relationship with my wife, as much or as little as she feels like killing me from day to day. And then the rest is she really has to share me with everyone else. I have to learn how to say sometimes, because when people ask me to do stuff, I want to get involved. I want to help. And I'm realizing I have to slow down a little. Maybe I can give advice more and elbow grease a little bit less. But at the center of all of that, as long as I can put the drums in the car, drive someplace, go make some music, people are blessed by it. As long as I can study my Bible and people want some guidance about the Word of God, or ask me to preach this day, or those are the kinds of things that I cherish more so than the things that you see me doing every day. I have friends now that they see me at this function or that function, or they see me working behind the scenes, and they think I'm a mogul. They think I'm Quincy Jones. I'm just a guy out here like everyone else. The guy in front of me is trying to get a gig. The guy behind me is trying to get a gig. To make sure the contract is worded right. We're trying to collect the money at the end of the gig. It's no different than really anybody else. I've just been blessed that maybe I get to do it a little bit more than the next guy. But there are people that I look up and that I aspire to be like, not the fame and fortune aspect, but the playing well, the being respected by your peers.
Right.
And to me, there's nothing like playing with some guys you love in front of some people who love you. That's really everything you do before the gig. That's a pain in the butt. Everything you do after the gig, that's a pain in the butt. it's all worth it when you play the gig.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's great.
So everybody, I'm Ronnie Sanders, and we are having this fantastic conversation with Alvin Carter Jr. and Velanda Samuels. And so now, Alvin, I have, as you're talking, and I'm seeing so many aspects to your life. And one thing that you mentioned that I thought was really important is, God first. And then you mentioned your wife. And so I always learned that is God first, you second, not to take away anything from your wife, then your family, which is your wife and your children, and then your career. And so, and the reason you're second is because if you don't make sure you're okay, you're not in the position to help anybody else. So it's very humble in that position, being second. So now, how do you, with all the things that you have going on, how do you regenerate? What do you do in your quiet time? And what advice can you give people out here who, all of us have so many eggs in our basket and we are spread all over the place. And so how do you bring it back around to make sure you stay grounded? I know that God is in there as first, but what else do you do to keep yourself motivated and generated to do all you do?
Well, it's not sweet because I don't get much of that. No, but it is, you got to stay grounded in, you have to stay grounded in the word. And I agree with you about being second, but I'm only second in terms of God. I actually look at God first, then I look at my wife and family second. But I understand what you're saying. If you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly enough, my personal time alone is when I have to drive for an hour to get somewhere. It's on my lunch break. It's the few minutes before I go to sleep, when I get in the house at 3:30 in the morning, but still have to be to work at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I don't require alone time. As far as the word is concerned, I kind of cheat. I work primarily by myself. When you're the maintenance guy, I don't have a crew, so I'm primarily by myself. So I'm usually listening to Bible teaching or listening to music I have to learn because I'm going to play with someone. So my wife points out the fact that I'm never more than 10 or 15 feet away from my phone. I in touch with the word in that way. Every now and then I get to sit down and study, or if I have to prepare a sermon, and of course you can't just get up there and wing it.
Right.
You gotta do your due diligence so you can exposit the word correctly. Do pray throughout the day. Sometimes it's a definite, laying face down on the ground prayer. Sometimes it's, I'm at the red light and something comes to mind, I need to pray about it. So those are the kind of, also in my old age, when somebody pops into my head, I'm probably going to give them a call.
Me too.
If a friend of mine, I know they may be infirmed or in rehab because of a heart situation or hospital, or I haven't seen them in a while, I'll call or text. And over the last few years, we've been losing people. We've been losing people because of the pandemic. But I had to come to grips with, at 60 years old, and the vast majority of the people that have sewn into me are 10 to 25 years older than I am.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends is 80 years old. Another one of my best friends is 90 years old. And so I'm at the age where people older than me aren't hanging around as much, or, we're losing some.
Mm-hmm.
So my relationships with the people I care about, even I call him Pumpkin, everybody calls him Pumpkin, Velanda's husband.
Mm-hmm.
We met, but we became friends outside of business. We haven't worked together in quite some time, but we check up on each other. He calls me slow motion, and I call him lunkhead, and we stay in contact with each other. And my association with Val is really under a year old. I used to see Val when she was leaving for work, and I was showing up to work on her house. I see her when she was coming home from work, and I'm leaving from working on her. So it's those kinds of things that help me to stay grounded. I love people and I love to be around people, but I don't need to be around people. I can be by myself. I don't require a lot of time by myself. Great, just by knowing, okay, I'm finished this, I gotta go do that. Finish that, I gotta go do that. And my father said I'm like a shark. If I'm sitting still, I'm asleep.
I understand that.
Right. And Joyce, his wife, she told me, she said, no one can be in two places at the same time, but I've come closer than anybody she's ever seen. If you see me on a highway, I'm probably already supposed to be wherever it is I'm headed.
That's so funny. I want to say that I think it's so great because although you don't have those intentional moments of sitting still, you still squeeze it in, because it is important for us to replenish ourselves, especially when we are so spread out, right? Because in this world, we're so used to doing a million things at one time and not even with a blink of an eye, right? It's very easy to do. So just to hear you say that you still take God wherever you go, you still listen to him by music, by someone pops in your hair, in your ear saying a prayer. So I'm glad to hear you say that. You may not replenish yourself the traditional way of just sitting down and being still, but you still take advantage of those moments so that you can fuel up to continue to keep going.
You have to take care of yourself. I don't exercise as much as I'd like to, but I do find a way to get some of it in. Sometimes I eat really well and very healthfully, and then other times, I eat 7-Eleven hot dogs, what I mean? So, but you have to make sure at least some of the time you're doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. And people who multitask, you want something done, ask a busy person.
True.
Ask a busy person.
It's very true.
I don't get to everything on my to-do list the way I'd like to. My wife still has things that she's reminding me of. You got to fix this, make sure you pick up that. But I also know when I need something done I'm not doing, the person I'm asking is usually somebody just as busy as I am. And when you're busy, you have to make time to not be busy. You got to get some rest. I may only get 4 hours of sleep a night, 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But then there's that day I get my 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There's that time I eat a good meal. There's that time I cook a good meal. And you have to fit that stuff in.
And these are conscious decisions to take that time, right?
Right. You have to do it on purpose. You have to do it on purpose.
Yeah. So, we've talked about so many things, and I started the conversation we were going to talk about your musical career, but like I told everybody, you have such an amazing career in front of you, so many different things that you do. And so I'm glad the conversation has been in the direction that it's been taking, because you have given some really good pointers, advice, and, Power Music is all about our tag is vibrations and motivations through their soul. And you have touched on exactly that. But I do want to ask you, I saw in your bio where you're a band leader as well as all the other things that you do. And I don't know if we were at the same event, but we have Kenny Hamber. I was at an event with Kenny Hamber. And now I'm like wondering, were we at that event at the same time? I was mistress of ceremonies for an event at Vibes in Hartford. And so, like I told you, I've heard your name over the years. This is not, like all of a sudden Val mentioned your name and I'm like, who is he? I've heard your name mentioned over the years and always, always in the best light. And so now I'm curious, were you leading that band at that event?
How long
I had an
ago was the
opportunity to
event?
talk to you directly and I didn't even know it.
How long ago was the event?
It was Blue Magic and
Yes,
no way.
I was there,
What?
and I played for Kenny.
Wow.
I've been Kenny's band leader for probably 30 years now, something
Really?
like that.
Wow.
You're not going to find another 80-year-old R&B singer singing like that. You're just not, okay?
And I'm playing his latest CD in my system.
And
He is on my rotation.
I've been associated with Kenny for longer than 30 years,
Uh-huh.
but I've been leading his band for around about. And yeah, Vibes used to be like one of my home bases.
Oh, okay.
I used to play there at least every 5 or 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it's really weird. I'll share this with you how I ended up not playing there so frequently. So, being I don't have a problem doing secular events. I really don't. I worked that out with God a long time ago. There's certain things I do, there's certain things I don't do. But at one performance, there was a lady in the audience attending church, in which I was an associate minister, but she had gotten lit. And she came up to me, "Hey, brother, yeah, I used to put it down back in the day." And I went, whoa. I was a party to that happening. I was participating in her ending up in that state. And that kind of, it messed with me. Don't let your good be, be spoken ill of, don't give the appearance of impropriety. All of that came into play, which I had worked out, but that hit me in the face. So I literally had to go to the management and say, "Hey guys, look, I'll do concerts on the other side, but I can't play the bar." I stopped playing at Foxwoods for that very same reason. There used to be the theater and we used to do concerts at the lounge, but once the only place to play at Foxwoods became the bar, I had to tell Kenny, I can't do these anymore. I can't be up here playing and people are getting wasted in front of me and I'm a party to that. And so we stopped doing those. But we did start doing more concerts and festivals and other events.
Okay.
And being associated with Kenny has allowed me to do some of the best things that I have had. And you call it my musical career. I look at it as I have a life. And part of that life is the things I've been able to do musically. So I guess if you put it all together, you call it a music career. It's just one of the aspects of my life. It's a very prominent aspect of my life. And it's an aspect I pay a lot of attention to, but it's really the other aspects of my life so into that. Somebody told me in order to be a good musician, you got to be a good person because musicians are people. So you want to be a good musician, be a good people. So I just try to be a good people. And I get my instructions from God's word. If I look at me and I look at the word and there's a discrepancy isn't with the word, it's with me, okay? It's not wrong. I got to make an adjustment. And I try to be like that. And I guess the benefit of that is there's certain things, certain ways I behave, certain ways I deal with people in business. There are things that I just won't do. And there's some things I absolutely have to do. And, that's how I try to handle myself. And that's how I try to encourage other people to behave. I may not
Right.
proselytize directly, but if you're around me long enough, yeah, we're gonna end up talking about Jesus. Find out if you know him, and if you don't, I'm gonna try to introduce you to him, and it will come up. I've actually had some of my friends tell me I'm the musician's pastor. Okay, I had one friend tell me I should open up a jazz church and everything in between. You know what I mean? So it that's just how it goes in my life.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So now, all the things that you've talked about, you know, if somebody wanted to follow you and, you know, to hear more about what you say, are you on Facebook? Do you have a website? You know, how do people connect with you?
So the majority of the contacts come from people telling other people. But I am on Facebook, Alvin Benjamin Carter Jr.
Okay.
I've been threatening to put up a website for over 10 years. I'm actually, sooner or later, I'm gonna get it done. The weird thing is you can't go buy an Alvin Carter Project CD. You can buy other people's CDs that Alvin Carter's played on. I play in a group called the Afro-Semitic Experience. I've been with that group for 25 years. We also have a Facebook page. You can find our music on all the digital musical outlets. I've been on, a bunch of Kenny Hamber stuff. But you can basically ask 5 people before you get to the 6th person. Somebody will know how to get in touch with me. But I'm around. I'm literally around. So I'm easy to find. But right now, if you go to my Facebook page, I do not use Messenger that often. So don't
You
message
don't.
me and expect me to get right back to you. You'd be better off just posting something on my page and say, "Hey, Alvin, get at me." Okay. I probably should get like a bat signal, get a big searchlight, put a big A on it. And
I think that would be a good idea. So it's Alvin Benjamin Carter Jr.
Alvin Benjamin Carter Jr.
and you use all the full name on Facebook?
I use the whole name. There are 3 Alvin Carters. We're all related. One's my
Oh,
father,
okay.
one's my son, and then the other one that you're probably looking for if it involves music or music production. I'm involved with concerts, on many different levels. So a little bit, a lot. I get asked to coordinate conferences and events that require entertainment or production, sound, lights, whatever. It's just the associations I've been able to form, they benefit me. So I get calls for DJs, I get calls for violinists, I get calls for clowns. If I don't, it's not important that you know, it's
Awesome.
important that you know who knows.
And if it's something that you're not sure of, just ask, right?
And listen, I'll know, or I'll try to find it. And if I can't, I'll tell you, hey, I don't know what to tell you. I couldn't find that, but hey, you might want to look over here. I just been, like I said, I just been blessed. So many different people in my life. I have so many people to draw from. I have a really, really deep bench.
That's great.
So
Nice.
another person is weird. I got a ton of people to mention, but one person in particular, we call each other cousins, but we're not. We just share the same last name. My good friend, Bruce Carter, he calls me when he's looking for somebody. I call him when I'm looking for somebody.
Oh, okay.
Because between the two of us, we pretty much have encountered everybody. It's
Wow.
him and people like him. He's not the only one. He's just an example of when you Hartford is a close knit community.
Sure is.
Okay, and you're looking for somebody, just go to one of the places that everybody goes and ask a few people, and somebody will say, "Oh yeah, he's in front of Popeyes right now, waiting
Mhm.
for the bus or whatever."
Right.
And when I say Hartford, I mean Hartford, Windsor, West Hartford, Weathersfield, this
Mhm.
whole area. I live in East Hartford right now, but I'm a Hartford guy.
And I grew up in Hartford.
So
Born
yeah,
and raised. My
that's just
my
how it
mother
is.
grew up in Hartford,
Yeah.
and lots of family. So I know that we were talking about 6 degrees of separation. I
Mhm.
love that because in 6 degrees, like I was talking to Val, and turned out she knows quite a few members of my family. You know, and she didn't know me, I didn't know her, but we had that degree of separation. So I know you probably know my family, because if you're in Hartford, we're all over the place.
And I mean, look how you found me.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
I didn't know Val 10 years ago,
Right.
but I knew Pumpkin.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? And
Exactly.
then
Mhm.
thank
Yep.
you, Val. I don't know what made you suggest me. but thank you. If you think I have some
Absolutely.
value, thank you.
I think that you are amazing. I think that your journey is
See?
amazing. And not only that, it takes some people a lifetime to find their purpose.
Right.
And you are a person who found your gift at an early age, and you were open to let it blossom and bloom. So
Yeah.
I only knew you from looking out my window and you doing work at my house. And now
Right.
we are just like, where's Alvin at?
Listening
know?
to me and Mark argue.
Right. So thank you for making yourself available for this.
Well, anything, and I tell people all the time, anything you think is cool about me it comes through me. It's from the Lord. That's where my value comes from. That's where my worth comes from. Yes, Abu, my dad, that's my main man. That is my main man. His mother, my grandmother, Gertrude Virginia Lockyer, yes, those people, my mother, yes, of course. But it's God. And everything flows from that. That's how I try to operate. And like everyone, I'm not always good at it. I'm not perfect. I'm not even striving for perfection, but I am striving to do what God says, the way he says. And I've just been able to benefit from trying to live like that. And anything you see musically, oh yes, it's been a great ride. And it's not over. I have these amazing projects dancing around in my head. Now I just got to figure out how to pay for them. But be on the lookout. You'll hear a lot from the people I'm associated with. You're going to hear a lot from Kenny Hamber. You're going to hear a lot from the Afro-Semitic experience, and just all the people that I work with. The goal is to try to let everybody know what we're doing. And if you don't like this thing, you might like that thing. And anybody who says there's nothing going on in Hartford, they lying like a rug. They ain't paying attention. There's always
That's
something
true.
going on. You just have to know who to ask and where to look.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that Val is being an expert at doing, because she's connecting me with fantastic people. And so I trust her without any shadow of a doubt. If Val says to me, you need to talk to this person, then definitely I want to talk. And I am so excited, that the fact that you were willing to sit down and have this conversation with me. And as I learn more about you, as I said, vibrations and motivations, and how encouraging you are, how respectful you are to people who have come before you, people who are coming up. And I think that is something that is so desperately needed in our community now, is that people show respect for other people. And I think a lot of that is lacking and needs to be spotlighted. So I think that you have brought some huge value to this conversation for people to listen to, not just about your spiritual life, but in encouraging people to keep going. You have done so many different things, and I'm sure that there were challenges that you had to face in order to accomplish those goals that you accomplished. But yet and still, you have such a great attitude and are so encouraging. And you speak so highly of people that I think it once people hear this, they're going to be encouraged as well. So I do appreciate you sitting down with Power Music Radio.
Well, thank you very much. And listen, we have to talk. I have a ton of people that I know you need to talk to because they're
awesome.
doing what I'm doing.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
And many of them doing it much better than I am. I just been at it a little longer, but I got people you need to hear. You need to talk to Jocelyn Pleasant, and you need to talk to Dexter Petaway, and you need to talk to the Powell family. I have a list, and we just need to let each other know who each other is,
yes.
so that we can get some stuff done.
And that is Power Music Radio's goal,
Yes.
is to bring these spotlights out to the community and let people see that there are so many levels to us that they haven't even tapped into the depth of talent and passion that is out there about our community. So
I know I could keep on going and going, but I do want to leave you with this. Connecticut in general, but the greater Hartford community in particular, is replete with world-class talent. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of the homegrown people that's been able to do some cool things. I mean, there are people you have not heard of outside of this area who are on par with anything you see on any stage. Now, fortunately, we do have some luminaries who've come out of Hartford and gone on to do great and magnanimous things. We have people that you haven't heard of yet that stay tuned, because they're here and we're trying to get them out there.
That's awesome.
So everybody, you've heard the breaking news.
Yes.
Look for more on all of these dignitaries that Alvin is speaking of. And, you know, Alvin, as you're going forward, you're talking about some projects. So, you know, anytime you want to come back and talk about what you got going on, you are definitely welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you, Val,
Absolutely.
for putting me in touch with this situation. I really appreciate it.
So everybody, I'm going to let Alvin go. He has mentioned that he is already busy today. And so, you know, taking the time to talk to me and Val is truly appreciated. So I'm going to let you go. You know, you've been tuned to Ronnie's Spirit, and we are Power Music Radio. As I mentioned earlier, we are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We play R&B, gospel, jazz, Southern soul, and we have a segment called Voices of the Community that is really an important aspect. And so we enjoy sharing this with you. We're at www.powermusic, music is spelled M-U-Z-I-C, radio.com. And on Facebook and Instagram, we're at the PMR Crew, and crew is spelled K-R-E-W. So those are two unique spelled words to identify Power Music Radio. So I'm going to look for everybody to like us and share on Facebook. Alvin, I'm looking forward to the next time we have another conversation. Val, make sure that, you know, people know that you are on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock in the morning. Your show is called Breakthrough to Wellness, and it is also on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every Wednesday. Right, Val?
It is.
Samuels. So you guys, thank you so much for this conversation, and I will see you soon.
Grace and peace.
Have a great day. Thanks.